about to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out, die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's go, let's be free with me. Be free. Not looking back, eyes on the freeway, Bonnie and Clyde, a classic cliche. We're on the run, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out, die with my own doubts. Be free. Let's go, let's be free.
Afternoon, everyone. It's Jim here. Welcome to our latest AQA A-Level Psychology revision live stream. And we've got another issues and debates topic today. I'll let Lara introduce it. If you're joining us live, welcome. You get a chance to use the live chat window to add your suggested responses to the various activities. And of course, supplementary questions that Anne and Lara throw into the activities. And also, if you want to ask any questions as we go, if there's anything you come across that you're not quite sure about, please feel free to type that into the live chat. You can't do that if you're on catch-up or replay, but we've had hundreds and hundreds of students watching each of these sessions every week. So please do use the comments box on YouTube if you want to ask any questions, but also to pause the video, give yourself a bit more time. Laura, what's our topic tonight? I know it's issues and debates. What are we doing tonight?
Yep, so we're doing another debate this evening. So it is determinism and free will. So we will be going through the spec wording as well throughout some of the games today, because it's quite a bit more lengthy than some of the other debates. So we'll be going through that with a fine toothpick, or Anne will.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds like we've got a lot to get through, lots of tricky, challenging content as well. So yeah, should we make a start?
Yep.
Okay, so just a reminder then that the determinism free will debate is one of the issues and debates topics. So that is examined in paper 3 in the A-level in your second year. So most of you will probably have covered it by now, but if you haven't, don't worry. It's assessed through multiple choice questions, application questions, short answer questions, and extended essays. But also, this debate is really useful throughout your whole A-level as part of your evaluation of your topic areas. So things to be aware of then, that again, like we explained if you were here last week, this is a debate. So it's very important to focus on both sides of the debate. Don't just describe determinism or don't just describe free will. You need to focus on the fact that it is a debate between the two. It's important to make sure that you're familiar, that you understand the different types of determinism that are mentioned on the specification, and we're going to be talking about those a little bit later, and that you've got good examples for each of those that you can use. It's also useful to revisit previous topics and apply the debate, because some questions, particularly essay questions, might ask you to give examples from topics that you've studied. And also practice your evaluation for a short or extended question on determinism and free will, because always with the debates, the evaluation is a bit different than it is for topics. So it does require a bit of practice. It isn't as straightforward as just being able to say one strength and one limitation and so on. You do need to sort of evaluate in a slightly different way. So if we move to the first activity then, the first activity is missing vowels. Okay, so this is where you need to use the chat box and tell me what phrase that is. Put the vowels in. Okay, I'm waiting. It's a quite hard one, isn't it? But if I tell you that the first word only has 2 letters, will that help? Well done, Saffron. Well done. Okay, no control. So how does that phrase apply to this debate? This idea of no control. Kai's coming in there as well, because sometimes if your connection's a bit slow, it can take a while. So somebody tell me how this applies to this debate. Which side of the debate does it apply to? Yes, if you have no control, you have no free will. So you could apply it to either side, couldn't you? So deterministic explanations, say that we have no control over our behaviour. We have no free will. They're already being controlled by something else. Excellent, all of you there. Amber, Talia, Kai, Saffron, lovely. Okay, if we move to the second one, and Callum coming in as well, excellent. So how about this one? Okay, again, chat box as soon as you've seen what it is. Talia, well done. Causal explanations. Yes, causal explanations. Because determinism is offering causal explanations for behaviour. Okay, if we move on to the next one. So how about this one? Nearly, yes, yeah. External factors would work, but it doesn't work with the letters we've got there, Callum. But yeah, Saffron, you're right, external forces. Okay, so can anybody give me an example of an external force that might cause our behaviour or control our behaviour? If we're giving a determinist explanation. Deterministic. Example of an external force. Yes, because they come from stimulus and responses, don't they? So the environment, that's where those learned associations come from. So yes, that's an example of what we mean by external forces. What are the other forces that might cause our behaviour? We can have external forces and we can have the unconscious, might be an example. Is that an external force or is that something else? What would you call that? Childhood trauma would be an example of an external force. But what's the difference? they're things like, so it can be internal or external forces. Okay, that's lovely. Next one. I'm nearly there, a bit slow coming up on mine. Okay, yes, well done, Saffron, in there straight away. Soft determinism. Okay, what does that phrase mean, soft determinism? What do we mean by soft determinism? As opposed to determinism just on its own. Yes, so it allows there to be some degree of free will, but not completely free will. That we do have some conscious choices, yes. So sometimes we can override it. So it's almost like a middle position if you think about that debate between determinism and free will on one side, on either side, and then soft determinism is in the middle. Yes, some lovely answers there. Well done. Okay, the last missing vowel. No, it's not Fred. Yeah, it's Freud. Okay, so how does Freud fit into this? Why is Freud's theory seen as deterministic? So why is Freud's theory seen as deterministic? I think somebody has already answered that at some point, or a bit of it. Yeah, so I can see that Talia's is coming up. Yeah, the behaviour is determined by unresolved trauma in childhood. Yes. Okay, that's lovely. Okay, so I'm going to pass you over. I'm going to pass you over to Laura now for the next one.
Okay, well done, guys. Some really good answers coming there, really good elaboration as well. We're going to play the Give Me Three game now. So I want 3 types of determinism. And just to be clear, there are actually 5 types that are quoted in the spec. I'm looking for 3. So when you have all 3 answers, pop them in the chat box at the same time and then enter that in. Excellent, really good answers. So Kai, you got in there first, really well done. Then Saffron and Talia. So yeah, you're right in saying environmental, biological, and psychic as our 3 answers here. There are also 2 others that are quoted in the spec, and they are soft and hard determinism. We've already been through soft. Yeah, really well done, Noah. Excellent. But the 3 that you need to know if we reveal the answers. Here we go. So I'm going to ask for an extension question on one of these. So number 2, environmental. Can someone describe how we would AO1 environmental determinism? Like what phrases or terms would you use to describe environmental determinism? So who's going to be first to answer this one? How would we describe environmental determinism? What kind of words, what kind of phrases, key terms would we use for that, do we think? Yeah, saffron really good. So caused by environmental influences. What we want to try and do is we want to try and maybe not use the word to define itself. Students often make this mistake when they define determinism. They say, oh, determinism is when we're predetermined, but that actually doesn't tell the examiner that you know much about the definition. That's why we need to use phrases like, it's where we have no control over outcomes or our behaviour. So we've got a few more answers coming down. George, you said more down to nature than nurture. Might have that maybe a little muddled. Do you mean nurture as opposed to nature? Yeah, Callum, that's actually what I was looking for. Yeah, Georgie, well done for correcting that, for realising. Well done. Callum, yeah, I was looking for that. So it can be measured by looking at stimulus response. And that's kind of one of the key phrases, we maybe would be expected to see if you were going to outline environmental determinism. Excellent, well done. Let's do the next give me three then. Well done, guys. So this time I want give me three examples of biological determinism from either topics in paper 1 or 2. So if you can write all three of them down, then enter it into the chat box. You have 30 seconds. Off you go. Okay. Yeah, Callum, well done with that one. That's actually one that I'm going to discuss. Anybody can think of any others? Georgie, yeah, well done. When you say genes and medication, can we be more specific there with a topic, I mean? So I'll give you a clue, Georgie. Psychopathology. Can we think of something specific there from psychopathology maybe, or anybody? Yeah, Talia, well done. This aggression would be an option in paper 3. Some of you may be studying that, some of you might not be, but aggression definitely damage to the amygdala. And depression, we could argue, is due to an imbalance of neurotransmitters. Specifically, you've said low level serotonin, but there's still something in psychopathology which is explained from a biological perspective, guys, which I want you to think about. That's assessed in paper 1. What am I referring to? Has anyone got it? Sorry, that's my dog barking. It's unexpected. Yes, Georgie, really good. So we can also refer to MAOA with aggression. Nobody's come up with it yet. So psychopathology, we should have OCD. Yeah, so we should have OCD for psychopathology. Remember, that is explained from a biological perspective. So yes, an imbalance in neurotransmitters, primarily dopamine and serotonin, but also we've got areas of the brain like the caudate nucleus and the orbital frontal cortex as well. So all from a biological perspective. And right in saying, who was it who said it? Callum, well done. Bowlby's monotropic theory of attachments very much is coming from an evolutionary perspective, if you like. We want to form attachment. We have that innate ability to form attachment as soon as we're born because it aids our survival. So again, coming from the biological perspective, and evidently in paper 2 we've got the biological approach. So again, that is completely biologically determined. Yeah, tutor to you. I think the dog was suggesting OCD as well. I don't think she was very happy. Great, perfect, guys. Really good elaboration, good answer. Going to pass you over to Anne now this is going to be a hard one. So you're going to actually have twice the amount of time. Is that right, Anne, for this one?
Yeah, we're going to make it a 120-second challenge. So really, in 60 seconds, you need to have tried to do the first 5, and then in the other 60, the second 5. So what I want you to do is pop them into the chat, but don't press go until you think you've got all 10 of them correct. Okay, so you need to be putting in putting in there A whatever, B whatever, C whatever, and so on. And then when you think you've got all 10 and you've got them right, then press go. But I do think you're going to need 120 seconds for this, so we're going to run this slide twice. Okay, so off we go, Jim. I was wondering about that. Okay, so is that 2 minutes or 1 minute? Okay, so you should have got 5 by now. Let's see if you can get the other 5. Okay, so press go now and let's see what you've got. Because that was definitely a challenge.
Or if you haven't got all of it, then at least
just
maybe
press what
enter
you've
what
got.
you've got
Yeah.
in. Yeah.
I think they definitely did a 3-minute challenge, I think. Yeah, just press go with what you've got so far and let's take it from there.
Or have we got them all, Anne, this week? Have we made it too difficult for them?
A5, B9. Oh, they've not done this chat right. Okay, well, you're having a go. B9's right. D, no. But let's say A5 is right. B9 is right. Anybody else have a go with what they've got? Doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. It doesn't matter. Just have a go. Right, let me see. Talia. So we've got B9 is right. C3 is right. F1's right. G10's right. H7, if you read me, I'm writing is right. I4 and J2. Well done, Talia. The ones you've got there are correct. And then we've got an A5 somewhere else. Okay, I think we've almost got them all between you. Anybody else before we show the answers? Okay, let's fit the answers on then. Well done, those of you having a go who haven't even done the topic. Okay, so A then is 5. So an example of the scientific emphasis on causal explanations is Harlow's research on monkeys. So why does that have an emphasis on a scientific emphasis? Harlow's research on monkeys. What was he doing that made it scientific? Or what was he looking for as being the cause? A bit of a lag. because it was scientific in terms of that, he was manipulating something, wasn't he? Yeah, it was lab conditions. Yes, he was the independent variable was quite it was the sort of comfortable one without the food, wasn't it? And the cuddly one, and the wire surrogate without. Well done, Georgie. Okay, to see what was responsible for the forming of attachment. Was it to do with food? Okay, well done. And then B was to define free will, so we can make our own decisions and act in unconstrained ways. That wasn't too hard, that one. What type of determinism is incompatible with free will? I think most people got C, not all, but yeah, that's hard determinism. So that's right on the opposite end of this continuum to free will, isn't it? Because it's saying there's no such thing as free will. I think, Skinner talks about the illusion of free will. We like to think we have it, but we don't. Behaviour caused by previous experience, environmental determinism, which you defined before. And then what disagrees with society's ideas of self-control and legal obligations? Well, determinism does, doesn't it? Because our legal system is very much based around the idea that we are responsible for any crimes that we might commit. So seeing free will as being important there, whereas, deterministic theories are saying the opposite. So it's kind of, getting those two are kind of opposed to each other. Then we've got an approach that can be used to demonstrate free will, which is humanism. Of all the approaches, that is the one that demonstrates it the best. And then we're into some kind of evaluation, because I think often students in their evaluation will write things like, a problem with this theory is that it's deterministic, and then we'll end. And they haven't really explained why, and they haven't really explained why it's a problem, because determinism isn't always a bad thing. It can be a good thing as well, because it does, take this very scientific approach to explaining behavior that's often, sort of praised within psychology. So you do need to be careful when you are using determinism as an evaluation point to make it clear whether you're using it as being a strength or a limitation, and explain why. Okay, then we've got defense mechanisms being psychic determinism. And then this is a bit of a tricky one. The concept of free will is unfalsifiable. What do we mean when we talk about something being unfalsifiable? And if you want to go a bit further, why is this a problem? So again, it's something that students write, but if they don't elaborate, you're not sure that they actually understand it. Yeah, I think Georgie and Olivia, I think you mean the same thing. Yeah, it can't be tested. You can't even think of a way to show it to be false. You should be at least be able to work out a way to show it to be false and then test it. And then if you can't find out it's false, then that's okay. But they should be able to find a way of doing that. And that's very difficult for free will, really difficult for free will, because it's kind of in your head, isn't it? It's not something that you can show absolutely and scientifically to be there. And we already talked about the middle ground of this debate, the middle of the continuum being soft determinism. Laura, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add here, or question, or
No, I think you've covered most of the things that I wanted to ask, and we've also covered a few of the questions that I wanted, to go through before this particular game. I don't want to give too much away, because obviously we're going to concentrate on some AO3 next and some exam application as well with regards to the topic.
Okay, so off we go. We'll move on to the next one then.
All right, so you guys will be familiar with this, those of you that have clocked into the other previous sessions, but those of you that aren't, this is meant to be an AO3, so an evaluative paragraph, but it's not in the right order. So what I would like you to do is I'd like you to read all of this, each statement here, and I'd like you to reorder it so that it formulates the perfect AO3 paragraph. Would be a good idea for you to put all of the numbers down first in the order you think it goes in before you press enter. So put your whole answer down, then press enter. So you've got 8 statements here, and you need to reorder it. So have a read, and in a couple of minutes we'll see hopefully some answers come up and see what you come up with. Anyone close to finishing? So like I said, put all 8 numbers down in the correct order to rearrange this these scrambled sentences, and then pop it in the answer, and we can have a see what you've got right in the right order. Callum, that's absolutely fine. I mean, might be worth even just having a go at the first sentence. What do you think should be the opening for evaluation? So out of all of these 8 statements, what one do you think should be an opening line? Okay, Talia, what 2 numbers have you got? Would you like to share that? So, Georgie, you've got 4, 6, and 2. Georgie, you're right with number 4. Really good. 6 is close. 6 is actually the second one, so you're missing one in between 4 and 6. And 2 comes a bit later. So you've done well there, Georgie. You've got number 4 correct. That's the opening one. So perfect. Well done. And number 6 is actually the third scrambled sentence. Anybody want to try and help or add on to what Georgie's already got there? Talia, yeah, so 1 and 3 actually comes after 6. So we've got 4, a number we haven't said yet, then 6, 1 and 3. So that's good. Excellent. Anybody want to try and continue after the number 3? We've got numbers 2, 7 and 8 left over. And they're actually, you know, there is probably another way of actually reordering these sentences, and we'll discuss that when we go through the answer. But you're right, guys, joint effort here. Callum, you've put 2. So is that after 3? You're nearly correct. That is the second from last number. So actually it goes, oh, hang on a minute, Saffron, you've come in there. 4, 5, 6. Well done. We should have 1, 3, 1, 3, and it says last 3 numbers. So Callum, you're right with 2, but that's second from last. There's a number before 2. So just to be clear, guys, what we've got so far, if you want to write this down, we've got 4, we've got 5, we've got 6, 1 and 3. So it's the last 3 numbers we haven't got in the right order. So maybe we'll see if anyone wants to have one more go, and then if not, we'll reveal the answer. So we've got 3 numbers at the end. So they are 2, 7 and 8. So Callum, 2 is second from last, but there's a number before that and a number after that. So can anyone do the last 3? All right, I tell you what, I think we'll reveal the answer. So, really good, guys, from what you've done so far. Let's actually read this through. We've actually played devil's advocate here with this evaluation point. Georgie, well done. 728 is correct for the last 3. Well done. Yeah, good. They're all coming through. So let's go through it. So let's read it. So we're going to start off with our point, which is a weakness of taking a purely deterministic view is it may reduce the effectiveness of treating patients. We're going to explain why that is. So disorders such as depression may only be treated in a biological sense, which may then in turn ignore other treatments that may be more beneficial to an individual. Ignoring other treatments may mean a one-size-fits-all approach, and as a result may be less effective for many patients. So according to the biologically deterministic view, individuals' biology predisposes them to certain conditions and therefore cannot be controlled unless their biological makeup is manipulated. This has been proved to an extent with the knowledge that disorders such as schizophrenia are a result of high levels of dopamine within the brain. However, this is where we're going to flip it. In contrast, the humanistic approach believes illness is due to free will and personal decisions, and that behaviour is not the result of any single cause. For example, identical twin studies typically find a 40% similarity, or concordance, in the likelihood of depression. These results suggest that 20% is caused by other factors. Therefore, an overall weakness of the deterministic view is that biological determinism is unable to explain any particular behaviour, in this case, depression and intelligence, fully. So that's quite a extended kind of meaty evaluation point, and we've kind of got two bits of examples or evidence in there, okay? And that's really what you maybe want to be aiming for. Sort of extended evaluation, really well elaborated evaluation. Okay, so well worth taking note of that and the structure and the way that's kind of flipped. So we've given that example of biological determinism. We've then given the example of how we could be a bit more holistic with the humanistic approach, and that element of free will coming in there as well. All right, well done, guys. That was a really, really hard task. Really impressed that we did a bit of a group effort there, so well done. I'm going to pass you over to Anne now, who's going to have a go at some exam practice with you.
Okay, so we've got an application question here then. So Parvinder was competing in the 100-metre sprint race in sports day at school with her best friend. Parvinder came second in the race. Provide one explanation for this result from a determinist perspective and one explanation from a belief in free will for 6 marks. So you can think like 3 marks for each explanation. So let's start with a deterministic explanation for Parvinder coming second in the race. Okay, so let's see what you can come up with. We want a deterministic explanation. It can be from any of the types of determinism that we talked about. So what would be a deterministic explanation for why she came second? So less experience. So you're linking that to which kind of determinism, Callum, there? You'd need to kind of explain that so that it sounded more deterministic. Yeah, we'll begin to free will in a minute. Like, yeah, environmental determinism. So to do with their learning experiences, being taught to run or, as a child. Okay, Talia, Parvinder was less biologically suited for running. So again, what could you bring in from that? What kind of biological explanations could you give? What might make her less biologically suited for running? Or somebody else can come in with that. Because obviously if you're looking for 3 marks, you kind of need to be, giving a bit more detail than that. Oh, to do with muscles, yes. Okay, so a muscle structure isn't up to it, yes. So you could do it in muscles, you could do it with, genetics, maybe there's not a history of, speed or a certain muscle type in a family. But yeah, great. And then you're also interlinked in here. We've got free will. Less training, so kind of less desire to train, yes, because it's free will, isn't it? We think athletes do it purely on the, muscle strength and things like that come into it, but there's a hell of a lot of training, isn't there? And, and being motivated to give up your time to go training when you could be doing other things. So yes, free will definitely comes into that as well. Personally, I'd say it's a bit of both, but you've kind of got the idea of the different explanations. Okay, so if we have a look at what we wrote, which was quite similar. So we've got a little bit of, explanation for behaviours being controlled, and we went along the biological determinism, the genes. I like the muscle one though, that was great. And then free will, the kind of active role and the choosing to practice. That Georgie came up with there, that she could have, spent more time devoting herself to it. She might, and that's an interesting one, that last point, is that she might have actually chosen not to win, because sometimes people don't want to, they don't want that, although it seems like it's strange. Not everybody's massively competitive, and some people don't want to kind of stand out, or she might have let a friend win because she thought that a friend might have wanted it or needed it more. So that's another interesting one that again would be free will when you're talking about internal motivations. Okay, so some lovely answers there. Do you want to just take over for the last slide, Laura?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, really good. Well done, guys. So just some kind of last pointers to go away with this evening. Do learn the types of determinism, of which, like I said at the start, there are 5: soft, hard, biological, environmental, psychic. Need to know the difference. You also need to have examples for each one. Please do understand the concept of the fact that this is the debate when describing and discussing this topic. And it's really important that when you're using this debate to evaluate another topic in psychology, that you don't just say a weakness is it's biologically deterministic, and you don't mention free will at all. It is a debate. When you talk about it in an evaluative sense, you've got to bring in free will as well. So it might only be a weakness because it doesn't account for free will. And a lot of students just tend to only write about, oh, it's just environmentally deterministic. You've got to bring free will in there as well because it is a debate. And again, like I've just said, do try and apply this debate to as many topic areas as you can, because it will really help you out with your evaluation. And it means you can basically recycle this topic into all the other topics for your AO3. Loads of resources to be using on Tutor2U, so make sure you check that out. Otherwise, that is the end of our session, and I think next week we are going to be going back to biopsychology with hemispheric lateralization. So we're going to be doing biopsych for a couple of weeks, and then after that we're going to be coming back to issues and debates and doing socially sensitive research.
Fantastic. And we may even squeeze a festive special in, Laura and Anne, just before the holidays as well, with our new festive game activities, which we've got to get in there somewhere, haven't we? Fantastic. Many thanks to Laura and Anne. Great session. We've packed a load in there, some hard activities as well. So don't forget to go to tutor2u.net/live if you want to replay any of the session, download the slides, but also there's loads and loads of sessions we've done all year that will be fantastic for your mocks if you've got those coming up this term or just after Christmas. Take a look at those, work your way through those, some of those sessions, particularly for paper 1 topics. You'll find those really useful. If you found it useful, of course, give us a thumbs up. We always appreciate that. Tell your mates it's a regular slot here on a Tuesday at 5:30. So as Laura and Anne say, we're back again this time next week. So hopefully we'll see you then. So see you later.
Bye.
Bye.